Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, April 18th. As usual, we're sitting outside Icon before it opens. Got our coffee, got our breakfast. We're just chilling in the courtyard waiting to get our week started. What a fun weekend we had. Seeing our buddy open Academy LA, collaborating with our new friend Brittany. So yeah, we're heading into our third week and I could not be more excited. I can foresee that everything that we're doing is going to level up my production. Week 1 mastering assignment, I got 80% on, so I think we're well on our way to getting a good grasp on mastering from a digital perspective, and then obviously we're using the mastering studio with all the hardware in there, which I think having that skill is just amazing. Week 1 vocal production assignment, we got 75% on, which isn't too bad, but honestly these marks are a great starting place for an advanced program. Just a little recap, we have classes Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Mondays and Thursdays are the big studio days. This morning we are getting right into the mastering studio, 9 a.m. and I'm really excited to use the new black box hardware. Like, pretty much everybody has the software version of this, especially because it was just released for free from Plugin Alliance, but actually using the hardware is a whole other ball game. But yeah, we're gonna have our coffee, chillax, and maybe even get some journaling in. Let's go. Good afternoon, still Monday, and right now we are working on the advanced sound design homework, which is essentially to do some super creative stuff within Serum that I didn't know about specifically. It's kind of taking some advanced and just some really interesting things you can do with Serum and doing sound design out of them. Let's check out what we're doing. All right, let's take a look at our first sound here. And so essentially our acid sounds we made for week 1, which sound like this, that's what we made these custom wave tables out of. We processed them, normalized the volume, came in here, morph, crossfaded them, and then that created all these different little sections down here. So let's listen and show you what we got. I think that sounds so freaking cool. So obviously if we go up to the matrix, we've got stuff affecting the noise level, the filter cutoff, we've got some detuning going on. Next sound. So this one, the challenge was to use FM synthesis to create something unique. So we have these interesting riser effects that we created. Let's take a listen. We have a pretty normal square wave here, and then we've used this trick again. We bounced out this square wave and then grabbed it and threw it back in here. So in Serum, the FM works a little different. It's in this warp menu. You essentially use another part of Serum, oscillator B, sub, your noise oscillator, to then effect or frequency modulate that oscillator. And so this is all dependent on the octave and then how much you're modulating. And then on oscillator B, we're actually using the FM from a AC noise hum. So here's without the noise. Here's without the FM from B. Gives a pretty cool effect. Moving on. This one is my favorite so far. So this one was actually created by dragging and dropping a PNG photo of my logo. We were able to create this sound from that picture. Just so freaking cool. And now let's listen to it all together with some percussion that I made. Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, April 19th, and we just got into the studio. It's around 9 a.m. I'm feeling super good today. We are getting a lot of work done these days. Last night I spent quite a while coming up with a really nice melody for a vocal track we're working on with Brittany. This morning, right away, first thing, we have to master one of 6 tracks for our advanced mastering class. These tracks are part of the midterm, so all 6 of them have to be approved prior to the halfway mark. After that, we need to jump into our secret project tracks and get those ready for our mentor session coming up at 7 p.m. Today we have advanced mastering theory and then advanced mixing. Of course, I'll give you a recap of exactly what we learned shortly after those classes end. And yeah, honestly, I feel like we're starting to feel our groove. Like I said the other day, it feels like we've been here a lot longer than we have. These studio hours go by so fast, so you really do have to kind of structure your time in the studio wisely. Honestly, we need to get to work on that master, get that handed in before our class, as well as get on these secret project tracks. We'll talk to you soon. Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, April 20th. We just got into the studio, and of course, I forgot to recap our classes yesterday. So let's start with mastering theory. We learned tools for dynamic control. So we're talking compressors, we're talking tape EQ, we're talking tonal EQs, we're talking multiband, everything. All of the tools used to control dynamics in a track. I'd say the biggest takeaway from this was compression, understanding what compression is, how to use it properly, and when to grab what compressor. If you've ever heard feedback saying, oh, this vocal sounds like it's on top of the mix, a multiband compressor can help you in those muddier frequencies push the vocal down into the track. By far, this was the biggest takeaway for me. Conversely, let's say your sub and kick just isn't hitting hard enough. Well, you can actually use a multi-band compressor to expand the sound for places where it needs to be brought out as well. What I found really interesting was the difference between using a dynamic EQ like Pro Q3 and using multi-band to compress your track. The way that it is explained is an EQ will shape and tone your sound. It will actually remove those frequencies, whereas a multi-band compressor won't necessarily change the sound, it will just make it quieter. So some very interesting takeaways from that class. Next up, advanced mixing. Now this was a very interesting class because the track that we're mixing this week is by the Lumineers. So it's like a progressive rock, soft rock track. And so we're learning how to process real instruments properly and get them sitting in the mix nice and punchy and clear. The cool thing about this kind of music is it uses a lot of reverb. It's almost like the rock version of trance with all the reverb and just how things are layered. They're doing this one a bit different. They're giving us 2 weeks for it because there's 40 different tracks to mix. So the way this class works is that if we have any questions from the homework from last week, we'll get those answered, go into any detail we need to as far as mixing is concerned, and then the instructor essentially goes through their mix for what that homework is. So every week the instructor's also mixing the track with us. It's quite interesting to watch somebody else's process and understand why they do the things that they do. A lot of what I see the instructor doing is kind of spreading the job out between different plugins. So he'll slap a compressor on, kind of get rid of all the peaks. He'll do some EQing, maybe some saturation, throw another compressor on, use that to control the effects that he just put on. It's really cool comparing the lesson and everything that we're supposed to be learning in there and what the instructor has chosen to do. You know, because it does somewhat come down to personal preference and mixing style of the individual. So yeah, we continue on with mixing class. Now we get to take this track by the Lumineers and mix it ourselves and hand that in before next week. It's Wednesday, that means we have mastering class in the mastering studio and then vocal production right after that. But yeah, we're gonna get to work. We'll talk to you soon. Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, April 21st, and once again, in glorious fashion, we forgot to recap our classes yesterday. So let's go over it. Advanced mastering practice in the mastering studio. We basically learned this mastering software called Wavelabs. It's specifically designed as a DAW for mastering. Not a ton to say about that. It's a pretty intuitive DAW. It allows you to analyze audio in a more specific way, catered to mastering, obviously. And then you can use all your plugins, all your software within this DAW as well. So it's kind of cool because it's combining the software world with the hardware world. Next class we had, Advanced Vocal Production, and I am absolutely loving this class. As you know, I got tons of vocal collabs, so every tiny little thing coming out of this class is helping me level up my work. Basically, it was another week of learning how to use Melodyne, aka pitch correcting vocals. We also went over some time alignment stuff, and it's interesting, if you're a vocal producer, I do highly suggest getting Melodyne Studio. Editor only allows you to edit one vocal at a time, whereas in Studio, you can load in multiple tracks. You can load in all your vocal takes and then work on them from there. So I'm gonna bite the bullet and upgrade. Unfortunately, if you're at Icon, they do not offer educational discounts, but it's worth it if you're going to be producing a lot of vocals, which I definitely am. What else did we do yesterday? Yeah, we worked in the studio a bit, and then we went to an office hours for a guy who owns Corson Agency. And basically, he's a booking agent, and his office hours was really inspirational. He essentially went over how to get a booking agent and kind of the ins and outs of what a booking agent does and how they work for you. It was actually his recommendation that rather than looking for a manager first, look for a booking agent first. You know, a manager, as good as they can be if they're well connected, they are straight up taking your money. Whereas a booking agent, if they want to sign you, that means they believe in you. And so when they book you, they're making you money. So there's a pretty clear difference. And for me personally, I kind of struggled after my Paul Van Dyke collab, and I didn't know what to do. I was trying to get bookings myself, and things just didn't seem to be going well. And then obviously COVID hit and kind of ruined all of my momentum with that. But what I was looking for at the time was a manager to kind of help me push for these gigs. A better solution to the literal problem I was having was to have found a booking agent instead. So yeah, some interesting revelations there for where I'm at in my career and the next steps for me, potentially. But yeah, it's Thursday. Today is all about studios. We also have a Q&A coming up tonight at 5 p.m. with the artist NEURO, and I'm so freaking excited to actually be in the Q&A performance theater, listening in person for the first time. Also, our collaborator, Brittany Egbert, she's coming to hang out this afternoon, and we're going to record, we're going to write. Please let me remember to film, document. That's what the vlog is for, documenting this time, and I've been slacking still. But yeah, it's only week 2.5. We'll figure it out. All right, let's eat our breakfast and relax before Icon opens.
Lightning illuminates, lightning illuminates, lightning illuminates, illuminates, illuminates.
Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, April 22nd, and we just got into Icon. We're running a little bit later than usual. I think this morning we're just gonna mess around doing some sound design stuff in Kick 2. This is probably the most powerful kick synthesizer on the market. One of my instructors spoke super highly about this, and I downloaded this probably like 3-4 years ago. So we're gonna update it. We're gonna jump in and we're gonna see about designing some kick drums from scratch. I kind of forgot this plugin existed, to be honest, so I think that's what we're gonna mess around with this morning. Give ourselves some time to just experiment and have fun and ease into the day before advanced sound design. I'm super stoked for this class. The instructor is an absolute blast. We're gonna get to work. Well, good afternoon. I'm in the theater right now. I love this space. This is where all the Q&As take place. Had my first Q&A with NEURO yesterday, and super motivating. Really good guy, just a very chill attitude. Stays in his own lane, concentrates on what he has power over, and just makes music because he loves making music. And that's pretty much the theme of some of the questions that were asked about how he got collab situations and how he's grown as an artist. It's just make the music that you love to make, and the rest will kind of fall into place. But yeah, we just finished advanced sound design, and the stuff that we're learning was absolutely insane. We were going over how to do a NEURO bass, and this basically just like a sine wave put through a ton of effects. And And so it's add harmonics, remove harmonics, add harmonics, remove harmonics, and literally do that like 10 different times with a whole bunch of different LFOs and effects and things coming in and out and all sorts of cool techniques to make really, really crazy bass sounds. The homework for that, which I'll definitely be showing you once we get to it, is to recreate our own NEURO bass. Feels nice just to sit in here. It's really, really well treated, so my voice doesn't have any echo. And right up there on the podium is where the artists do their Q&A. Way back there, you can't really see it, but there's the camera there. That's for the online students because they live stream basically every single Q&A that happens here. It's pretty surreal to be sitting in this theater, to have done a Q&A in person when I've been doing them for 18 months online. A really good day. I love the sound design teacher. He's hilarious. Lumberjack is his artist name, dubstep producer. Actually, I love all of the advanced course instructors. Like, these are people at the top of their game. They really, really know what they're talking about. I'm so freaking grateful to be at a school like this learning from these people. So yeah, that's the recap from our sound design class. In a little bit, we've got another studio session, and then shortly after that, it'll be Pizza Friday again. A really, really good week. We're diving into the homework today, Saturday, and Monday. I hope that you had a good week this week. We'll talk to you soon. Here we are, back in Studio 141, our favorite studio at Icon, and we are working on the sound design homework, which is to create a NEURO bass line. Now, this is some crazy, crazy concepts. Essentially, it's subtractive synthesis, but repeated over and over and over and over again. You know anything about NEURO bass lines? They have a really unique sound to them. Let me show you an example. Here we are in Ableton, and as you can see on this channel, we have, I don't know, 20 something plugins all creating this NEURO bass. And so literally all it is a sine wave, adding harmonics, and then taking away, and this is the kind of sound that it produces. Some pretty crazy stuff. And so here's a few of the one-shots that I took from just kind of looping this and recording it, because there's devices like this randomizer, that's what's on my filter. This is what's really making this crazy sounding. I got LFOs going on filters, like whoa, 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 all that kind of crazy stuff. So let's check these sounds out. So it just goes to show what you can create, and this type of bass line is something that I've never done before. So just the processes behind this allow me to get way more experimental with my sounds. Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, April 23rd. Once again, we are in one of Icon's studios, and today the main focus is going to be on our homework. We have an absolute ton of homework, huge project for mixing and a huge project for vocal production. We started our vocal production homework yesterday, and it's a lot, and there's some serious mistakes in there that were obviously done on purpose that we needed to catch, and we're plugging away at that. Luckily for our mixing assignment, we actually have 2 weeks to do it. This week is all about getting a rough mix done, and then next week will be all the finalization, automation, and a ton of stuff. It's pretty cool learning the ins and outs of an actual mixing phase. You know, I'm the kind of guy I mix as I go, but I feel like this is going to give me a bit more structure when I go to finalize my mixes. It's Saturday, so Icon's only open until 6 p.m. and we're going to go grab some dinner with a friend. But yeah, homework all day, and I'll definitely show you what we're working on. Here we are in Ableton, and I wanted to show you, I guess it's kind of an advanced mixing technique. It's actually more of what not to do. And so you can have a vocal that sounds like this.
Will you hold me after I leave?
And what you'll notice here is particularly right here, I'm not exactly on the grid. And in my opinion, what the vocalist is doing in their performance is kind of doing this pitch bend detune kind of vibe. It's kind of likened to hitting the detune or hitting the fine knob in Serum. And so I wanted to keep that part of the performance in this vocal. You heard the vocal, now let's hear it with the instrumental and listen carefully.
Will you hold me after I leave?
Now, maybe I could kind of adjust this one down here, bring this one a little closer to that. No, it could even kind of bring that down, but just listen to the difference now.
Hold me
You get like a little bit of a glitchy effect, whereas if you just kind of leave the vocal alone in that spot,
hold me.
it sounds more natural. And so like I said last week, it comes down to performance, it comes down to the vocalist's style, and more so, how does it sound against the instrumental?
Will you hold me after I leave?
Good afternoon, same place, still working. We are doing our advanced mixing assignment, which is mixing the song Angela by the Lumineers. I'm actually having a ton of fun doing the rough mix for this kind of rock song, indie rock song. Originally, I was kind of struggling with the fact that advanced mixing wasn't going to be about our own work. I kind of had the expectation that we'd be handing in our own tracks with our own mixes and then kind of tearing those apart and going over them as a class or something like that. But it turns out we're going to be going over multiple genres and learning how to specifically mix those genres. So this one is great because it's all live instruments. So we're learning how to process drums, guitars, pianos, violin, cello. Super handy. I mean, especially in trance. And I've also worked with a actual violinist as well. I don't know what's going to happen with copyright for this, so I think I'm just going to record through the camera and we'll see what happens. If the sound goes blank in this part of the video, well, you know they got me.
Vacancy, hotel room, lost in me, lost in you, Angela, on my knee, I belong, I believe, hope and love. Hope and love.
So our homework this week, edit the audio if we need to, balance everything out, process some of these different groups like the drums, the vocal, all that kind of stuff. We got an hour left before Icon closes, and I think we're going to be able to get this mix handed in.